careful bold hypothesis. Reasonable doubt subversion history. Hello everyone, I'm Qipeng. Again today to help you subvert history. What today's theme is to subvert it. That is Tui Bei Tu. It talked about the ages of the most famous prophecy. I would like to first place in our hearts. Should all Tui Bei Tu. That this one Tui Bei Tu not only predicted the Tang national affairs, also predicted a significant event after 2000. That is how it is in the end to it. It would have talked to say that one day emperor, now called the Yuan Tiangang Li Chunfeng. After that he said called. You came to help me predict what the Tang fortune. So that two people ordered. Prophecy began to collaborate. Divination by the Chunfeng mapping Yuan Tiangang. Two people worked together to predict the Tang national affairs. Tang did not expect it after prophecy. Unstoppable. Even years after the 2000 Tang Feng. He predicted that gave all finished. Later, Yuan Tiangang is a look right. Go on like this we will have a. So he used his hands to push a Chunfeng. Then told him not to disclose the secret of. So this time, Chunfeng only 11 dismay. Said a few words, we could see this coming a few. Chung said the vast number of days of which seek. Rise and fall of morals is not free, thousands upon thousands of untold. Better to go off to push back. Because here the first mention push back the word. So this prophecy will be called Tui Bei Tu. It is said that emperor get after. Love treasures until he died. It will also use it as grave goods. So the most primitive version was buried with the emperor take. It was later Yuan Tiangang with Li Chunfeng. Each from memory is silent again. Later that will have. Tui Bei Tu prophecy spread. Of course people will be curious. What is inside a very magical place it predicted? I think the most classic case. Wu is the prophecy will be. The Tang world. How to say? We can see that. The present pushing Tan annotation as endorsement 3. Inside the prophecy said it has mentioned that. Shaolin soil under the sun and the moon in the sky. Wu and also not confusing. That is not the sun and the moon in the sky to Wu and also. You can know what to say, surnamed Wu who is master of the world. And from confusing. Alone can see is a woman. So this is a metaphor that says. Wu will be headed thing. So then Wu. The renamed itself as Wu Zhao. Zhao this is a good sun and the moon in the sky means. So we have to ask that. Such a Tui Bei Tu in the end is true. That are credible information available information. Song Zhuangjiu book should be compiled tasteless. Inside there is mention of the term Tui Bei Tu. Before that in fact their earlier data. That is the big cloud Jing Shu Wu Zetian period. That big cloud sutra inside, there are diverted to the content of Tui Bei Tu. Daxu August Majesty said Yunshan. Guchan care of the household stood at attention from Tang Tang. So from the point of view, then this place. At least to the period of Empress Wu. There appears Tui Bei Tu. Just this one big cloud sutra. We compare not adopted. Why? Because it was originally, is to let the Emperor Wu Zetian. The made up. And that therefore its credibility. In fact, it is questionable. But even a good question. Anyhow and inside the context mentioned Tui Bei Tu. So at least it is certain that. Wu Zetian period. This has been spread to the world the Tui Bei Tu. But it is interesting that. If the book can be critical. The Tang fortunes and related words. It would have to feel strange. Why new Tang with old Tang? This right historical Tang did not record it all into it. And it is interesting that, in these two books inside, Li Chunfeng have mentioned with deeds Yuan Tiangang. And they also prophesied quasi-divine story. Write down. Yet still no mention of. Two co-author of the present Tui Bei Tu. So that this Tui Bei Tu. They did not in the end is. There's not really what this prophecy. Many scholars agree that. This is for fiction Tui Bei Tu. You good. Talked about this place. Uphold the consistent principle subversion history. You will feel that. I want to say is fake, right? Tui Bei Tu. Well, I have to tell you that. Tui Bei Tu said Li Chunfeng is with Yuan Tiangang. Is fake, but this book is likely to be true. How to say? In fact, since ancient times, there is the so-called art of divination. Like, say the Song Dynasty. There is the so-called oracle. So that such predictions are in fact. The number of patients inside the age is mentioned. Like, say that. There are also modern mogu of fortune. Xiangming science of astrology. So this kind of prophecy, in fact, are still full of uncommon. So we ask that kind of thing in the end whether it is true. From ancient times, there are many examples of both testified that fortune really look at this kind of thing. You seem to not be completely denied. This prophecy really exists. It's like, say feng shui geography that good. Feng shui is said that geography, what is talked about Dragon King gas. Many people think that to say this is non-existent is nonsense. But then this geographical feng shui says, verified by scientists. Why verification? Because in 2015, Delft University, in the International Journal of Authoritative Scientific Journal Nature, published a paper. Among the paper is talking about quantum mechanics. There's a special phenomenon called quantum entanglement. This quantum entanglement in the end that what he was saying it. You not a scientist. I simply had enough with. It says that to say, no matter how far the distance between two particles, a particle will affect another particle. That interaction between the particles is not affected by space. So that you students, if we see this place, you will not feel that this is like our geography like feng shui says. Because this feng shui, through this space is the same as that of feng shui come and be configured to judge. This is not a right feng shui. Good feng shui say that if the geography have been such a quantum entanglement theory confirmed case. I want to ask, this divination, you can certainly say it is a fake. Like many scientists now believe say, there are a number of more than one universe. The concept of so-called parallel universe, the so-called parallel universe that is talking about. There are a number of our universe. But one by one row down. This will be more and more with us. Acquaintance of the universe will be worse the more. So that if someone, through certain capabilities may be, to see this parallel world, future things will happen. That cannot make predictions yet. So I personally think that folk may have different technique which can be odd ones too. He has this, the ability to spy on parallel universes. Later, therefore write this Tui Bei Tu. But others deserved we also fear that this book does not believe. So will the pretext. Yuan Tiangang made with Li Chunfeng. This situation that we now will have. If someone is us, painstaking to write a book. Of course, to get someone to speak. Or to help him do recommend. Or to help him do the introduction. That put it bluntly. With these really comes down to people in authority. To strengthen the credibility of their own book. Right. So meaning that I do not think Tui Bei Tu is false. But Li Chunfeng said or done Yuan Tiangang. Then it might be controversial. Okay, we have to ask, since it is true Tui Bei Tu, why go down to posterity? Will rise to so many people feel? Where does questioned? Then I'll talk with you. The initiator of a person with relevant. This person is a good Kuangin. Why is Kuangin? Because before Emperor Kuangin yet, Tui Bei Tu is very popular. And he ascended the throne itself. Tui Bei Tu also inspired by the, how to say, in fact, there was spread Tui Bei Tu. Inside there is a prophecies called the opening bow. We can see the text above. It says here in the biological Jizhou. May open bow on the right. Natural Mumu Qian Kuinda. Dare large mirror according Xinxuan. That there are different versions of the text here head. But some people interpret this place That opening bow, then that is great. If you want the Hong words. Who is to be the person in Hong? There may be when the emperor. So you know that when the 5 dynasties and 10 states. Very popular. Like, say Liu's father. Southern Tang Liu dad. In particular, he put his eldest son, named Li Hongji. In Wu and Yuan. He also put his son. All took a great word. So that everyone. Meaning that we all agree to say. Philip does have what is called a man. What Philip? He is likely to be emperor. But later, when the emperor is Kuan that you talked about this place. We'll say that it is not allowed yet. Why or quasi? Because Kuan Yin's father is called Zhao Hongyin. Meaning that he also has a great inside word. Just not when the emperor himself. But rather on his son. So you did not feel this way listening. The reason can be when the emperor Kuan Yin. In fact, they are inspired by the Tui Bei Tu. Do you have? There should shine on him. That's because Kuan Yin. Later, the emperor really smoothly. So people have a collection of this Tui Bei Tu. Instead love treasures. Will not put out. But if everyone really regarded such a Tui Bei Tu, close up words, why it will cause trouble? Because if I put it away, then it is possible to interpret the when Song perish. That I might have refused to accept the ruling of the well. So when there was a minister. Is the Prime Minister Pu Zhao? Pu Zhao Kuan Yin went to ask. This is the ancestral arts Kuan Yin, he asked him. There are more than folk Kuramoto out of hand. That is not to ban raw ban. It is affecting the rule of how to do it. And he asked Kuan Yin. The results Kuan Yin told him do not have to ban. Why? He said you see Qin Shi Huang Fenshi Kangaroo, no use So you cannot ban is forbidden. They ban the collection survived more carefully. The best how to do it. He thought of a way. He said we may wish to compile more than a few versions. Spread to the private sector too. Let people confuse. I do not know which version is true. Do you feel you heard here? This move much too high. He's not a forbidden way. To block the spread of Tui Bei Tu. He is to ease the way. Version to give you a lot of fish. Okay, so he really did. He had brought these changes to Tui Bei Tu. Changing the more than 100 versions. Not only to replace it inside the map. It also replaced text. The results spread out. We got this one feel. I present this one as true. The results of your version. You also have Tui Bei Tu me. Our results are not the same versions of all. That you. It saw a lot of you will not feel, well this is fake. Later, we really no longer a collection of. Did you think you? The Tui Bei Tu story. Really is also full of people feel surprised. There are no tricks Kuan Yin. That this matter. Among the documented history of bedside Yueka. Who is it that Yueka? Is the grandson of Yu Fei. And that therefore he should not be lightly speak. So at least at the time Yueka has affirmed the existence of this matter. So that, if ever there were Tui Bei Tu, then this book. The reason that it messed up the order. The reason for inaccurate predictions. Kuan Yin victims are on the right. Of course we will ask say. Since it was messed up Kuan Yin. That there is no existing version. Song is a version of it. Well I did not tell you. Why? Today's version of the current spread. There are about 5 versions, the most detailed or that we are the most widely circulated. Shintan version. And with its collections of Academia Sinica. The oldest earliest version. Is the earliest existing. That's Hangu of the Ming Dynasty color version. That is, the period of the emperor. But during the Tui Bei Tu Zhu Yuan Zhang. With existing spread completely not the same. Let's look at a few features. In this version of the Tui Bei Tu Hangu. A total of 65 like. Later, with the spread Shintan version like 60. Different. We just have not seen that. Better to push it back to go off. That version is Shintan. Of 60 like it. This second version of it. Fig per pixel with a poem prophecies. As well as a description with a color photo shows. Focus is on the third point. No marked Guaming order. So that is, at least to the Ming Emperor period. Spread Tui Bei Tu are not ordered. Since there is no order that, which one first after which a? Who knows, right? But later. Shintan version yet it scheduled the order. The origin of this version is also very interesting. It is this world in 1915, when, in 4 years' time is, came out on top of specially marked to say, Mr. Jin Xingtan detail batch debate there. Inside also specifically mentioned that Jin Xingtan is poor in the power of life in early Qing dynasties, scheduled such a sequence. To spy secret. God speaks seems to be right. But this version, itself a big problem. Why? Because the content inside it. It's also the order version, Hanwu years with almost not the same. You can see this. Is the third version of the Hanwu like with like fourth? Is a man is a woman. But to Shintan version of the time, we just turn out to be seen. Wu's like that. There's a bunch of monkeys on top of a parrot. Well then it might be a different order relations. But the version Shintan, people are used to break a bunch of status. How to say? We just talk about it in the 7th as well. 7th, as you may notice, said Kim Sung comment. Main and overbearing as this Tubo Roku central military. Meaning that this is the Tibetan people. But how would be wearing a long robe Tubo? There have dreadlocks head too. This is not the Qing dynasty costumes do. A similar situation is not good just like the 7th. 12 also like. We can see here like 12. Said Jin Xingtan comment. This resort like main Shur Jing Tong Katai. That this is the Khitan people. How long robe Khitan people also have braids. So that. We opened all the graphic inside Jin Xingtan. You can find us a. Inside there is a lot of mention of minorities. All are wearing Manchu costumes. Do not you think such a dress? Mystery has been revealed yet. That author is likely only familiar. Manchu ethnic costumes. Not understanding other people's in the end what to wear. Of course, some people will say, it was very powerful Yuan Tiangang with Li Chunfeng. Later, even clothing can be predicted to. If you really can predict later costumes. Why he was only familiar with the Qing dynasty costumes, with the Khitan people do not know Tibet. What it was like to wear it. So the book itself. It's already out of the question graphic. Another point to see. We like to see the 21st side. 21 like the prophecy said. We say Shintan annotations may be false. But prophecy is finally corrected. Well you see the results of this prophecy saying here. Inside there is a saying that nothing in. This idiom that nothing in it. First appeared in what time? Is the earliest. Wen Tianxiang among anthology. That song. So what is the meaning? Meaning that Yuan Tiangang with the Tang dynasty Li Chunfeng. When prophecy actually used the words of the Song Dynasty, do not you think this is really very exaggerated it? Like here by mistake. That some people have actually finished the 900 as much as. So you talked about this place. At least we can say for sure. This version of the Tui Bei Tu Shintan should be the fictional. That someone is said to be doing research. Since it appears that at the time of the early republic, should be to promote the anti-Japanese ideas. In order to arouse our nationalism bar. So this book will have secular. So this book is also very interesting. Qing happened afterwards. Only more accurate detail. Before the Qing dynasty is very rough. And some of the important things are also not included into. So this one Shintan Tui Bei Tu. Although it is the most widely circulated, but its authenticity was questioned by others. But despite Tui Bei Tu Jin Xingtan is a fake version. But the authors commissioned Yuan Tiangang with Li Chunfeng. Oh, do not fake, that is real character. Why would the two of them two come as author? Because the two men in the prophecies, or our mathematically astronomical calendar, has his unique place. Let's take a good look at Chunfeng. Why so much Chunfeng? In addition to his childhood on intelligence, there are even more important his family history. Why? because all his skill his father taught. We can see the new Tang records. He said the father is Li Chunfeng broadcast. Had worked Sui Wei Gaodan. But then to see the impending doom Sui. So they simply go to a monk official position went to Washan. But he has put his ability to Chunfeng. So we see that the last two sentences. Chunfeng involving Bo Young Junshuang books. Ming Yin and Yan of astronomy science. So it is that he will become the reason to Tang Feng Shui master. Among the historical data that there are many places, has mentioned his attractions. That his most special place is mentioned that author of a book called Otomi Accounting. This is the Otomi accounted for astrology books. From the previously mentioned that he would astronomy. To do this book that is very reasonable. However, the most special place. Among the book also wind set level. He look out set at 8. Is the history of the first grading for people wind. It was many years later after 1000. British scholar was on this basis under. It becomes 12 wind derivatized. So you can wo. He is not very Chunfeng. Unique set of, at least he tried to get to everyone. For the first level there is no wind set. But this is his scientific achievements. Powerful place still in his prophecy. Many books are mentioned. His prediction quasi-divine place, like, say Lu pot of cooked rice and Sui Tang Jiao words, inside mentions several interesting full story. Like, say one day Chunfeng finishing. New Year Almanac time. Hatsumi is found to eclipse. Hatsumi is the first day when. It appeared the first day eclipse is a bad omen. It was reported that so. Emperor looked very unhappy. He asked him, "Are you sure this is the day you eclipse? In case that does not appear how to do," said Li Chunfeng. "If the case does not appear eclipse, I am willing to be punished." Emperor said, "Okay, I'll wait and see." You said one day. We particularly to the courtyard to see. This is not really there. Eclipse phenomenon occurs. The results of these days. Emperor look. The court justified the empty garden day. Chunfeng, you probably are wrong predictions. I'll let you go home. With his wife and children to say goodbye to it. Come back no matter how good, feel better dead. The results this time to tell him Chunfeng. I'm not anxious to draw a line. Wait until the sunlight to this line when. There will be a solar eclipse. Sure enough, just wait until later Emperor. The sun to the place before we do deal. Sure enough, the eclipse occurs. So this is not representative of the said Li Chunfeng in astronomy. He's a very unique. In addition to that there is another story. That means. Then one day. With Emperor Li Chunfeng. With Zhang to close out together. Zhang received a musician. The results at this time. There's storm blowing from the south. And blowing them. Emperor just curious. Guess how this is going? Li Chunfeng said this indicates that the torrential rains. At 5 kilometers south of here someone crying. Zhang told the emperor received the results say. 5 kilometers outside. It should be someone playing music. 2 people the answer is not the same. Emperor just curious. Who speaks for it? And he would send someone to look at. The results of the 2 people say. Why? Because 5 kilometers outside, there is a funeral procession. So because someone crying mourners. Because of mourners. So there are those advocated by the band. So 2 people say yes. Goes the text itself is a collection of musicians. Although the distance 5 kilometers away. But he may be born with a keen early. Barely can be heard faintly. Wind sound of music. But he was able to predict their crying Chunfeng. This is very powerful, right? So this represents the said Li Chunfeng prophecy, in fact, his very unique set of. But that does not say anything. There is a more magical story. Documented in Cattle inside Su Ji 1. He mentioned that. One day Emperor Li Chunfeng said. People coming into the Big Dipper. Tang came to drink. I advised him to. You can send for them to come. Emperor promised results. He sent messengers to the restaurant waiting. The result was this restaurant. There appeared 7 Brahmin monks. that the angels confess what he wanted to say. Hope to invited guests. This is the result of 7. A hearing on the same care and laughs. Li Chunfeng, this must be for my children. And then he told the messenger to speak. Okay, so I say drinking wine. I'll tell you in the past. You first go on. So messengers go downstairs waiting. Well anyway, they are on the 2nd floor. You also run less than where to go. The results left to right, and so cannot wait. Strange people, where to go. The results have gone upstairs to see people. Because the thing is gone. So I had to return with the emperor. Emperor also feel very surprised. But the point is, this 7 people in the end, it really existed. Really exist, since then wait for them to leave after. The owner, in pack. When the Brahmin real wine drinking. Unexpected from them under the seat. Guan also get the money 2000. That's what they own wine. That is, people do these 7 Big Dipper. He did not freeloader. Has left his beer money. The story is amazing. But can prove say. Li Chunfeng was a prophetic story. In fact, is very widespread. We'll have a similar story appeared. But Li Chunfeng powerful place. Not in these small prophecy. But he predicted. Soon there will be the emergence of Wu Zetian. Well, how do you say we take a look? Come inside the old Tang. Particularly mention that, at that time Jingwan years. Tui Bei jinxing often during the day. It looked emperor felt a bit strange. Paoquan said too imperative, how is this going? After the results are 2 divinations said to him care of the household Chang. Means that girls will flourish. So then. In the emergence of a civil tips. Inside mentioned 2 sentences. Having said Tang Sanshur, King Wu on behalf of the world have the care of the household. That is not to say that on behalf of the Tang will be replaced by people yet, so Emperor Paoquan said Li Chunfeng. Are these words true? The results Chunfeng told him yes. And this man has been in the palace of His Majesty the. So from now, not 3 years. She will replace the Tang. Emperor was also asked. I just put these people to kill the whole house, how? Anyway, cannot determine which one thing. Li Chunfeng said no result. Why cannot he say? Now if he had 3 decades. Old has been a bit bigger. Personality would be more charitable. If this time to kill her. 30 years later, etc., she just won the youthful energy of. That this way she will not only replace the Tang. And will slaughter the sons of His Majesty. None of stay. That is not a ruthless. Emperor, a destiny cannot be violated. Well, then even if I had. Well, not to kill this man. Of course we have to ask. This statement is true prophecy Chunfeng. Of course, true because it was the emperor's palace. There was a man. Empress Wu was the only person. And after his death. He was afraid of this man surnamed Wu in order to, later, it is possible to really replace the Tang. She also went to the sense of industry, temple. What to know Tang Emperor Li Shi took her welcome back. Also let her become queen. Later stir up trouble. Tang Jiangwo road circumferential substituted. China's history of the first female emperor. So you know you talked about hearsay. Li Chunfeng predictions really quasi-divine right. But so much good Chunfeng. How about Yuan Tiangang? I tell you. Yuan Tiangang nor an ordinary fellow. He was said to be very xiangming. And it will see face. It is said that he also did a book called Wind Cam. That. To see the wind speed to follow suit. Can judge good and bad. But in the history books. He does best thing is to see face. In the old Tang biographies have mentioned that the party trick. Yuan Tiangang 3 people have been invited to the fortune teller. Namely Duyan Wang Gui Wei with Ting. The results of these 3. Their official position as to how high will. The middle of what kind of ups and downs. Finally, what will the fate of each one of them come true? So then these 3 individuals, of Yuan Tiangang very impressed. That's because the face of the Yuan Tiangang surgery. Very powerful. Later, the palace also particularly be recruited. That is to meet emperor. After that time the emperor gave him. I heard him face to parse. feel very surprised. He asked him, in ancient Junping I now how about Seoul? Meaning that the ancient Han Dynasty when there are a number of master technique is called Yen Junping. I get you today. How are you with him then? The results Yuan Tiangang told him. His untimely so I am better than him some. This means that I have to get wise emperor. Come and take care of them. So then emperor Yuan Tiangang received as a think tank put. Tantamount to doing a little of his advisors on the right. Then, later, Yuan Tiangang go with a lot of ministers. Each one of them come true. How to tell his fortune. So then Shen Wugong Jiao Shilian also once said to him, Master Yuan Tiangang, what you will do in the future, officer. The results Yuan Tiangang told him. I have a relative live my life in April this year on the same subject. Meaning that I do not have a higher level of official position, and then the result was in April when he went to passed away. So this represents the said Yuan Tiangang of the school is not only very powerful Xiangming, he even gave his life to count. You see there is no strong. Okay, so we ask say. Yuan Tiangang very powerful art of the Xiangming. That is prophecy is what happened. Prophecy also full of powerful. It also specifically mentioned in the history book say. He also worked for Empress Wu fortune teller. Okay, this is how it happened. Let's look at old Tang records. Initially Wu was still an infant just born out of time. Wu Yuan Tiangang home, please come and see face. When he saw the Empress Wu's mother young, she said told, Mrs. Bone will be blessed with children. This means you look very rich. There must be a great luck, kids. So it is curious that Ms. Yang said, in which the body is to be a child. So she started to put her two sons. Yuan Qing Yuan Shuang called up with. The results Yuan Tiangang saw that the two children are good friends. Officers are available to protect the family of 3 products. Machine it. Of course, not exactly a great luck, right? So then, Mrs. Yang Wu's sister again. South Korea lady called out to see Yuan Tiangang. Oh, look at a simple result of Yuan Tiangang. This girl is really big expensive. But against their husband. This means that it is possible to premature death of her husband. That Ms. Yu Shiyang heard the. You say that these are not. Who that might be. So she thought that infant Wu Zetian. So she wanted to quiz Yuan Tiangang. In particular this child. Wu clothes replaced. Also from the girls' clothing. Boys into costumes to look to Yuan Tiangang. After a look at the results look pale Yuan Tiangang. He spoke 2 words. This musical child dragon eye very elegant neck of phoenix also. So meaning that Mrs. Yang Dafu expensive is printed on the kids. But there is a word. He said that if a girl, then that is no way to detect the. Because the future she will be the main thing in the world. Okay, of course, talking about this. You will be curious to say. Mrs. Young said there is no break. This is a woman. Of course, do not say no break. There is no historical record. But I think it will not speak. Why? Because if this girl will be the main thing in the world, that representative will replace Tatan, since it will replace Tatan. Said the case was out of Yuan Tiangang. Yuan Tiangang went to speak with the emperor. Emperor to the whole clan then how to do. So then you. History books did not mention Mrs. Yang's reaction. But Mrs. Yang should not say break this thing. But one thing at least is certain. He also noted that Wu will become rich. Become the master of the world. At this point of view, Xiangming of Yuan Tiangang school. His prophecy surgery. It is not really very much. Of course talked about this place. We must also say. But he did not see it. Clothes have to replace them So it was deemed say. Is not fine academic Yuan Tiangang, but in any case. His prophecy surgery, there is also his unique side. So we talked about this a good place. Everyone will wonder. Since the 2 men prophecy surgery are so powerful, the 2 in the end what is the relationship? Some say fellow. It was also said that mentoring, but there is no way to do proof. Because there is no historical record, no agreement. but it is certain that it is important. 2 colleagues. Because when Chen Feng 2 imperative, the Emperor Yuan Tiangang be received as a think tank. So 2 people are in Datang official. That of course is the relationship between colleagues, since it is a colleague. We will be very curious to say, the 2 men in the end whose skill, relatively higher, it seems difficult to compare. We talked about the 2 men in front of prophecy, have their prominent place right. Folk touches rumors. 2 people had over the previous ratio. This story is also full of interesting. That one day, Emperor with 2 people go out together. The results saw 2 horses. A red one is black. So it is curious that the Emperor, he asked 2 people say, you help me look at the forecast. Which horse will be first into the water to cross the river? Yuan Tiangang first results of the divination Gua. He believes that from the fire. So it should be a red horse first into the water. The results changed to the time Chen Feng. He did not divination, he has a different interpretation. He said Mr. supposed to smoke before the fire. So the smoke is black, then. Should be a dark horse to cross the river into the water. Well, everyone will wonder. Who is the right thing to do? Li Chunfeng said an A. But this time Chunfeng not claim credit. He said that if there is no Yuan Tiangang words of divination, I have no way to do a reading of this. That I was predicted on the basis of Yuan Tiangang. Do play. Yuan Tiangang of credit or. So from the point of view of this place, 2 people have powerful place. Li Chunfeng not divination, he fully believed in divination Yuan Tiangang. This represents, Yuan Tiangang of divination is, high skill right. Okay, this story cannot see who compete. Then we look at, another good folk rumor. Another popular rumor is that there mentioned that 2 people were looking to go to the cemetery to see Wu. At that time Wu Chunfeng go first. Say you help me look to find a poised. The results Chunfeng took 9981 days, found a poised. Put down a coins in that place. Later, they ran to find Wu Yuan Tiangang. Say you help me find a poised. The results Yuan Tiangang and spent 9981 days. Found a poised. Readily put their ins on. Tied hair is inserted in the top of ins on. Then go back fuming. The result was, Wu 2 people were found to take up a comparison. Is a place with. And even more amazing is, Yuan Tiangang ins on. Qianyan further inserted over the coins of Chunfeng. Meaning that 2 people have found a place with. Do you think? The 2 men are really extraordinary skill. Also there will be poised to see. But such a. Later appeared Qianling. But such a statement. Later, there are different versions. Another version says. The Qianling actually Chunfeng. Some loudly now are looking for. But then found. Wu Yuan Tiangang have let look. Yuan Tiangang objected result. Cannot be buried here. Why? He said you look at the Qianling where Lianshan. Lianshan like the same woman bimodal. So the local residents. This place called Nipple Hill. Since it is the shape of women's chi will honor. If the Tang buried here, then. Dragon certainly affected. Possible adverse to Tang world. So he does not recommend buried here. So say the Yuan Tiangang. This time how to do it. Wu listened very happy. Because this symbol, she will be a highly profitable market the future will climb. Well then even further when the emperor. So she would feel that. I was buried here okay. But Li Ji, a little hesitation. Therefore, Wu said. You believe that son loudly well. He's your uncle. He's looking for it must be true, that's so then how to do it. Son loudly this time too afraid, Yuan Tiangang saying is true, so he offers a suggestion of compromise. He said that we put this place. Well named Qianling. Well as dry as the sun. That this place Liangshan relatively negative thing. So moves of yin and yang, consistency can be. Datang fortune that certainly will not be affected. Can continue to continue. Li Ji, the results of such an good proposal. So then with the Wu Tang Emperor Li Ji. The tomb of buried together. Will be called Qianling. Well this is folklore. In the end, we do not know whether this is true. But I personally think that says 2 people are unable to compete with the, as we mentioned earlier, historical data. Li Chunfeng good at astronomy, and Yuan Tiangang good at Xiangming of school. Maybe 2 people have covered this. The art of feng shui geography, but you can say it is higher or lower. It seems difficult to determine. So long as we know what to say. 2 people have each of specialists, are able to learn in their own the to do Datang forecast. This way it. Okay, we have to ask that these 2 peerless expert, that they find for themselves tomb. How is it? It is interesting. The 2 men then look for their own tomb. Almost all in a place not far from. And they are looking for in the suburbs of Chang'an County. After Dugong Ci Mountain, just 2 tomb. Although almost all the distance. But not long after a rundown. 1,000 years, but does not harm. This is how it happened. Folk is rumored. After 2 good people to find their own tomb. Chunfeng ran to find him, said Yuan Tiangang. When I recruit people, imperative too much taboo. So it may not take long. I would dilapidate a tomb. People will be gutted. But you are a think tank. National division, consider the emperor. Our usually good turn deserves another. You should be able to make it without prejudice to the tomb of the millennium. So to say that we have to ask. Chunfeng words in the end whether it fulfilled. Seems to be true. Oh. Because the tomb of Li Chunfeng, later did not take long to be destroyed. Now see. Was later built by descendants. Its cenotaph. That is a memorial mound. Bao Yuan Tiangang tomb has long uncut. Why? Because there is no long Yuan Tiangang local cemetery where it was classified as a military powerhouse, that is, put a little simple, army to help him keep the tomb of meaning. When the results of the Song Dynasty, like this place as a military powerhouse, and continued all the way down until the Republic of China are still military powerhouse, even the founding of Chinese Communist Party at this place is also listed as being of military importance. Because of their own, is a very important military hub. Well, it is said that the Cultural Revolution. There are 4 new 4 olds not stand it. This place is because of the PLA stationed. So Yuan Tiangang tomb was protected lived. Later, the PLA has withdrawn from this place. But then withdrew it. The local government here set an alarm bell. It is also tantamount to disguise to protect this place. But after the reform and opening it, again here is classified as one of the important cultural relics protection focus. So mean. Yuan Tiangang tomb. Really like Li Chunfeng said. Without prejudice to retain millennium. The tomb of Li Chunfeng. Now only a cenotaph of. But that there are different versions. Like, say the tomb of Li Chunfeng. Li Chunfeng's tomb is said to have. Local archaeological experts say, he found the real tomb of Li Chunfeng. Said he found the tomb is the tomb of a small package. But 3 coffins tied with chains. After the remains inside. Or epitaph to research. Li Chunfeng should be with his wife. And his disciples. But such a conclusion. The results are part of his personal study of. The official did not officially come out and say. This study result is true. So in the end no one knows whether it is true. As it was Yuan Tiangang. In fact it was once damaged. Because the tomb of Yuan Tiangang, later, someone over there to keep the tomb. Why does it will be damaged during the Cultural Revolution? Not vandalism. But not careful how I say. Because of this low-lying areas. While during the Cultural Revolution, it is built upon near. The results pond higher than the Yuan Tiangang cemetery. The results actually makes the tomb of Yuan Tiangang flooded. After flooded gravekeeper felt. This should not be the tomb of Yuan Tiangang. Yuan Tiangang how will find a tomb, let it flooded his tomb. So he dug a grave look at soil. Did not take long to dig a sarcophagus. Here there is a hole in the sarcophagus, the results go on it unfathomable. Because he left to go get something. Found that echo very far away for a long time. So he thinks is false to say that the sarcophagus. The following should be his real tomb. That since there is such a tortuous kind of scale. It is obviously true tomb, so he later no longer continue to dig down, it is restored to its original state, this is what we now see this. Continue to keep the tomb, well, this is not officially confirmed. So no matter Yuan Tiangang tomb. Whether millennium does not harm, whether the tomb of Li Chunfeng has been damaged. Have to wait until later. Official archaeological team to probe. Only the truth can. I do not know today talking about Tui Bei Tu, Li Chunfeng and Yuan Tiangang with the story. Whether subvert everyone's impression of it. A careful bold hypothesis. Reasonable doubt subversion history. Qipeng subversion history. Hello, we see you next time.